This video will be a guide on how to change out the interior fixture of your ejector seat holder and change it into a spare tire holder on your 2021 and newer Gen 4 Toyota Sienna. The following photo is all the parts needed for this installation. We have the trim assembly here. We have the spare tire holder that gets installed to the frame. We have tools here, the jack handle, the actual jack, it's a scissor jack, the jack wrench, some bolts, the floor box, the spare tire cover, and then of course the tire and the rim itself. Everything except for the tire and the rim is one assembly that you buy together. So it would be all these parts right here. And then the rim and the tire you buy separately. Now you might be asking, how do I get this assembly? Well, Toyota sells it. Here are the various part numbers right here. Depending on what year and make and model you have, obviously everyone has a Sienna, but depending on the trim level and the color of the interior, that's how you will decide which one you need. I have an LE, so I know that the interior color is always this light gray, so that's color suffix B2. Depending on what features you have, if you have shades on your third row windows, you'll want one of these bottom two options. If you don't, you'll want one of the top two options potentially. Rear seat entertainment, that's if you have the movie screen that pops down from the ceiling. If you have that, basically the panel will have a spot for a headphone jack and another outlet. Otherwise, it will not have that. I personally did not have the rear shade, so I got it anyway, just because the shade is nice to have and it's all the same price. So my part number was 51900080070 and then B2 at the end. So it'd be -B2. And then you can look this up on the Toyota website, given what features you want and what color, and you'll get exactly what you need. And again, that's for all these pieces right here. And then for the wheel, you can buy that off of Toyota as well. I have it pulled up right here. The wheel, depending on your dealership, it'll be about this price for the wheel, but it could be a little bit more or a little bit less. This is just a random dealership I pulled up. This is the part number right here, 426110R271. And then the wheel, or I'm sorry, the tire itself, I got off Amazon. This is the size, 155/80/17. It currently sells for $80 for the tire. This is the exact brand that's used, Falcon. I'll give a link to this if necessary, but additionally, you can get this pretty much from anywhere, or if you want, you can go to a junkyard and you can find the same tire and rim. That could be a little bit cheaper as well. So those are your options there. The first thing we must do is remove this scuff plate right here. We don't have to take the entire thing off, but all we have to do is just remove this area right here such that we can get to some of the internals underneath. If you do it right, it's not that hard. You don't need to apply too much force. If you feel you need to apply a lot of force, you're probably doing something incorrectly. What you must do is grab right here and pull toward you, meaning into the car, a little bit until it unclicks, and then pull up until it comes off. You can see the anchor points that they use here. Again, it should not be too much force. If it's a lot of force, you're probably doing something incorrectly. Now that we've got this piece disconnected, we need to disconnect this piece. We just pull it straight toward you this way and it should come right out. Again, you can hold underneath here, right here, and just pull it toward you and it should just click right out. What you can do for extra assistance is push in right here while you're pulling this way. It should come right out. See how little force that took? And then here's a scuff plate. Put this aside, you'll need it a little bit later. Now that the scuff plate is removed, next we need to remove these wirings, harnesses for the door. You can just push down on the tab above and the wiring comes out. It looks like there are 3 of them here. Like 1, 2, 3. Now that we have the wiring undone, there are 3 of them. Underneath here, right down in here, there's a 10mm socket. We're going to undo that. And that will allow us to take this entire housing out. Next, we'll take a 14mm socket and we're going to undo this seat belt casing right here. Next, inside our ejector seat area where we would normally store it, open this up back here. And we'll see stuff back here. This is going to have to go. So let's get rid of this. Keep that there for right now. Next, we are behind the back seat, deep in the trunk. Up here is the ejector seat. Down here, I lifted the back seats up such that we have the space available. Way in the very back, we have a 10mm socket here, and we have another one just off camera over here. We need to remove both of those and take this plate off. Simple enough. Okay, the next thing we have to do is remove this plug right here. Do this at your own risk, but I like taking risks, and you can just take this apart with a crowbar. Just position your crowbar right here. And just get it deep in there, and just there we go. Yeah, comes right out. At this point, we can start peeling back the paneling. You can generally start down in this corner down here. You just pull this up and it'll unattach. I've already unattached just a little bit. A couple things you need to be aware of because there are a couple fragile parts here. First things first, there's these belts that are attached to metal pieces behind. I will let you decide how to finagle those. That's very low risk. Additionally, over here, you can see, I'll come over across the car. You have your room temperature sensor down here. There is a connection on the back side. I'm not going to show it, but it's similar to the other electrical connections. That is easily breakable. So what you can do is undo this area right back here very carefully, and then go in behind and you can just undo that with your finger. Make sure you do that before you just pull it off like a crazy person, because if you break that, you're gonna have some problems. See if I can get it undone here, or just pull it through like that. Yeah, and then there's a notch right here. Additionally, right behind here, this is your fuel latch. This can break very easily. It's very easy to access from the front here. It's attached to this arm right up here. This arm has a ledge on it. If you just pull this ledge up toward you, so I'm pulling it this way. There's a lip. Pull that toward you like I just mentioned, and the thing will come right out. You see in the back here how I have it pushed out, up and down like that. Open that up and bring this arm out, and then reinstall it when you put the new paneling in. Additionally, the second row left seat belt you need to undo as well. So far I've kind of roughed in the new framing area. I have not attached anything. I just put it in there. I took this framing member for the spare tire out of the box and I just laid it up here as was. There are already two flanges that were already installed on the vehicle that I just lined this side up with. This attachment goes in one way. There's another one that's right here. There's one missing down here, but this attachment also comes with the screws necessary, or the bolts necessary. So I was able to take a bolt and bolt it in there. And then for up here, it also comes with nuts. I'll take my 14mm socket and I will tighten those up here. There's one, and then another nut. Next, I have taken the fuel release plug off of the old framing member, and I will attach that onto this spare tire holder right in here. Now that attached, I can now take my fuel cap release and I will just stick it in here and then reattach. So that is now available. Note that I also have now been able to tighten bolt 1, bolt 2, bolt 3, and bolt 4. This thing is not moving, and this thing works as intended. I also wanted to mention that from the old ejector seat remover kit, where you normally store the ejector seat, there were 2 pieces of metal that came off here and here to hold belts. I took those off as well. Those will not be needed in this installation. At this point, I'll assume the next step is intuitive. We have a new framing member lined up here. You just need to just use your creative aspect and just go along each of the pinpoints and just push it back in. You'll see these plugs that are already attached in the new framing member. Just push those into the holes in the steel frame and just use your creative ability to make it look nice and get the trim special. I can't demonstrate that. You do it according to your own judgment. You can't really screw it up. Sometimes you will see an extra plug that's already inside the metal frame and your new interior won't attach because it's overlapping. The one that's in the metal frame, just take a pliers or take your crowbar and just pull it out. You won't need two, you can just have one. And then also remember, make sure this emergency escape thing is attached right here. And then also your room temperature sensor. Make sure that is plugged back in as well. And then outside of that, this is pretty intuitive. The one I ordered has the shade right here. That way, I can just put a clip right here, up here at the top, and the shade will already be there to allow our third row passenger the ability to have some shade. The next thing you can do is open up this box right here. And then the tools that come with your spare tire assembly kit, you can actually put these right here and you can store them right in here. Let's see, this goes this way. This goes like this. Nice. Those can just go right here. The next thing to do is to replace this back panel piece, and then we're gonna put these back in with our 10mm bolts. What I saw when I did this is when I put this thing back in, everything snapped into place, but this insulation piece got a little off kilter because of the new frame over here. So pay a little bit special attention to making sure this is back in place. That way you don't have any air leaks or anything. The next step is reinstalling and tightening the third row seatbelt bolt. It's 14mm. Make sure this is tight. The safety of your passengers depends on it. I already did this off camera, but the last thing we'll have to do now is just re-plug in those 3 electrical connections that we disconnected earlier. Install that piece back in that we took off right here, and then this running board right here, reinstall that, just snap it right back in, just the opposite of how we took it out. I already did this off camera, but the last thing we'll have to do now is just re-plug in those 3 electrical connections that we disconnected earlier, install that piece back in that we took off right here, and then this running board right here, reinstall that, just snap it right back in, just the opposite of how we took it out. The next thing we'll do is take the jack and just put it down in the bay here. It will fit just fine if you fit it just right. Note that Toyota does not actually expect you to put the jack down here. They have a special spot, which I'll show you in a second. However, that requires you to cut carpet, and I don't think it's necessary. I think it's just fine down there, so I just leave it right down here. For full disclosure, Toyota does have a spot underneath this carpet here where you can nail in your jack. It does require you to either cut this carpet out or get a new carpet piece that has this part pre-cut. I think it's totally unnecessary. and I think it's better to just put it back in the bag where there's already a spot to hold it, such that you can have more storage space for other stuff here. So I don't find that necessary, but if it's something you'd like to do, that is an option. You can put it right here and it comes with a cover and everything. But I think putting it where I put it is just the better idea. Next, we will put the tire in and screw it in. Note that you can make this tight, because when you're taking it off, if you have to use it, you have the tools available to untighten it. So I can just grab in that box and use the wrench to untighten these when necessary. So it's okay to have these tight. That way this won't shake when you're driving, making an unpleasant noise. Next, we can put the cover on. We just put the 3 bottom things in place, get the seatbelt out of the way, and it just pops right into place. Nice and snug. And that is how we install the spare tire conversion kit. I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you have any other questions. Otherwise, blessings to you today and your new spare tire assembly.